What's going on, BHDL fans? My name is Scorpion of the BHDL crew, and today it is time. We are here, all of the battles have been fought, and it's time for the finals of Battle Hub Draft League Season 2. In today's video, we will be taking a look at the last two teams still standing and fighting for the title of Pokémon Viola, and we'll be taking a look at the matchup specifically and who we think will go home with that ever important title. And I say we because joining me today is a very special guest, our BHDL's favorite analyst and also known as the captain. You want to say hello, friend?
How's it going, guys? Sorry. I mean, hello and welcome. Sorry. That's catching my throat. It's actually Captain B-Nard. I am here. Thank you for those kind words. And yeah, here to give my not-so-expert analysis on the playoffs and the final matchup here in BHDL Season 2.
Sorry, I almost got the impression I was with someone else for a second. But anyway.
that was the point.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To someone else's, rather.
Yes. Yep. Honestly, good impression. 10 out of 10. All right. So if we have
thank you.
If we have a look at our playoff bracket here, on the left we can see the first finalist for Season 2 is Raymond, coach of the Mammoth Doubters, and his opponent on the right side here is Brandon, coach of the Piedmont Triad Kickers. So first of all, big congratulations to Raymond and Brandon for making it to the finals of BHDL Season 2. We're very proud of you guys. First of all, Raymond, returning finalist from Season 1, the Pokemon Scholar of Season 1, in fact, the guy who won it all. And Brandon is now coming over to try to take his title. So we'll see if Raymond can actually win 2 seasons in a row, or if Brandon is the underdog of the BHDL and manages to take home the Viola for himself. So,
yes, absolutely.
Yep, a very exciting matchup. And let's jump right into it. So, real quick, to have a detailed look, we have, for the finals, on the left side by Raymond, we have Baxcalibur, Zapdos, Azumarill, Azelf, Corviknight, Terra Captain Dugtrio, Salazzle, Probopass, and Dracloak. Versus Brandon's side, on the right here, we have Urshifu Rapid Strike, Cinderace, Clodsire, Rotom-Mow, Noivern, Frostmoth, Terra Captain Bisharp, Gardevoir, Terra Captain Cresselia, and Pikachu. So, Cap, you want to start off with this one. What do you think of this matchup?
So, I think this is a pretty big one here. Obviously, it is the finals, and obviously, as you had mentioned before, the reigning champion, Pokemon Scholar Raymond, coming into this match against a good old BP, as I call him, Brandon P, who has actually made quite the turnaround from last season to this season. So last season he had one of the worst records in the league, sitting at, I think he was like 3-9, something like that.
10 seeds to be specific.
This season yes, exactly, and he turned things around in a huge way and in a hugely positive way. Now making it all the way to the finals, which personally I think that big of a swing is a victory in and of itself. But yeah, looking at these teams a little bit closer, looking at Raymond's team, I will say obviously it is a powerhouse. So you have premier threats like the Baxcalibur, the Zapdos, the Azumarill, defensive Pokemon like the Corviknight, that kind of thing. Obviously, Zapdos can be pretty defensive as well. And then of course he's got some other stuff like the Dugtrio Terra Captain, which has been a favorite of his this season to try to catch people with that ever important arena trap. And then of course we have Pokemon like the Salazzle and the Dracloak that I don't think he's made too much use of this season. He actually has brought the Probopass quite a few times, I believe, as well as his other Terra Captain, which is a Pokemon that is honestly underrated in my opinion. I think Probopass is a pretty good one. And especially with Terra to get rid of its questionable rock steel typing. So I do have to say, I know Raymond, speaking about him specifically, it's an interesting situation because I'm sure you and everyone watching will probably remember in the preseason power rankings, we did not think very highly of Raymond's team, put him near the bottom actually. of our power rankings. However, I would make a couple of important notes that in our defense, because obviously he proved us our initial assessment wrong.
Yep.
I will say in our defense, his team did change a little bit between then and now, so he made several transactions that kind of ironed out some of the issues that we saw with his team. But additionally, in that initial ranking, we didn't really take player skill into account. And I have to say, after this season, I have no problem admitting that I think Raymond is one of the best battlers that I've seen in Gen 9, to be completely honest with you. He's definitely proven that he has a real versatility. He has a knack for bringing unpredictable sets that work. He always seems like he's in control of the game. So I know I've played him a couple of times. I know you've played him a couple of times.
Yep.
And every time I play him and every time I watch one of his games, I always get the feeling that he's in control. Even if one of his Pokemon just got knocked out, or even if he's down numbers against his opponent, it always feels like he's got something up his sleeve. It always feels like he has the momentum behind him, and it is very, very difficult to try and take that away from him, you know?
Yep.
So, but yeah, I do like this team actually much more than the original version. I really like him as a player, and yeah, obviously back-to-back finals kind of speaks for itself. You know, I'm a numbers guy, and you know, he did it. He made it to the finals twice in a row, and as I had kind of said before, I think that in and of itself is a big accomplishment. So
yeah, for sure, absolutely agree.
Our help.
So we have, yeah, I mean, I think what you said is absolutely correct. What I do also have definitely seen for myself, which you kind of mentioned, is I also think that when it comes to the Pokemon on Raymond's team, he seems to be very, very solid at piloting them. And what I mean by that is, I know Raymond is a big fan of Baxcalibur. It's one of his favorite Pokemon. I know Raymond's favorite Pokemon of all time is Azumarill. And a lot of other Pokemon on his team, like the Dugtrio and the Zapdos, I know he's quite a big fan of as well. So I can just see how he knows how to pilot this team. Like, not gonna lie to you, I don't know if there would be many other coaches that would get as far as he did, like with his team, if that makes sense. It's definitely not easy to pilot, but he does it very well. And that's definitely, you know, what you said. He seems to be in control, he seems to be confident. And a lot of sets that he usually brings to his battles, I'm like, yep, this makes sense. This is something I would have done. Or even if it's not, like, oh yeah, this is actually a really good set. Like, he knows how to pilot his team and he knows how to make it work, and that's very impressive, honestly. Now, absolutely, 100%. If we want to take over a look at Brandon's side, we have quite the scary setup as well. Now, Brandon, like you said, definitely an underdog in this story. His team has improved so much throughout, like compared from Season 1 to Season 2. And this is something I actually started to notice when we were already like sort of in the middle of the drafting process. I remember just the moment right after Brandon drafted Noivern, which is his fifth Pokemon. And I saw the lineup of just Urshifu Rapid Strike, Cinderace, Clodsire, Rotom-Mow, and Noivern. And I'm like, this is going to be a great lineup for him. He's doing a great job at drafting. And that's before he grabbed his arguably seasonal MVPs, being Bisharp and Cresselia. And those two also obviously did a fantastic job at making the team whole. Now, he definitely has been leaving Frostmoth and, of course, Pikachu on the bench a little bit, which is understandable. You know, the Frostmoth has got that horrible typing without the ability to Terra. It was a Terra Captain initially, but he changed it to Cresselia after making that transaction. Right. But yeah, it's I still do think these are two very, very solid teams. The biggest threats, obviously, on Brandon's side are definitely the Urshifu Rapid Strike. That one is insanely scary, right? Like, I don't know if you agree with this, Gav. Let me know. Whenever I have faced Urshifu Rapid Strike 3 times now in draft, 2 times against Beardo last season, and 1 time, obviously, facing Brandon in this season. I never know what to do against this Pokemon. I think this mon is so strong and scary in prep. I really, really struggle on how to combat it. And I don't know if Raymond will run into the same issue, but I'm curious what you think of it, because I think Urshifu Rapid Strike is like one of the best round 1 picks you could possibly go for.
Yep, I would tend to agree with you for the most part there. Urshifu Rapid Strike is an absolute powerhouse of a Pokemon. In draft, it can be very unpredictable because it's got a lot of different things you can do with it. It's got a really wide move pool, you know. So I agree with you completely. It is very difficult to prep for. I know when I faced Biridu, also known as Biridu from the Discord server, last season, and he had Urshifu Rapid Strike. I had to throw it in there. He had Urshifu Rapid Strike, and it was difficult to prep for. This season, I faced Brandon P. He also had it, and obviously it was difficult to prep for. That was one of the many things that was difficult for me to prep for in this team. So
yeah.
But the team as a whole is just an absolute powerhouse too. You have stuff like like you said, the Urshifu Rapid Strike, the Cinderace, are premier high point value threats on any draft league team.
Yep.
You've got stuff like the Clodsire defensively, the Rotom defensively, even though, as we said, on this squad, the Rotom Mow and the Frostmoth, the Gardevoir and the Pikachu haven't really made too many appearances, if any. But just that solid core of the team, and then add to the fact Bisharp and Cresselia both as Terra captains, is just an absolutely stacked lineup that he has with those 6 Pokemon alone. So as you can see, the Noivern obviously is a good one too, being able to defog, having a high speed tier,
for
good
sure.
move in its own right as well. So so this team is just very impressive on paper. I will say I did play Brandon P in the last week of the tournament that I played. He busted my ass pretty bad, not gonna lie.
Same here. I got my ass handed to me as well.
Yeah, so I have nothing bad to say about this team. And I think when we were initially doing the power rankings on this team, it was pretty hard to say between an S rank and an A rank. It was pretty difficult. I think we ended up putting it in the A rank category just because there were a couple of things. I don't know if he did make some transactions this season.
Most importantly, he did not have the Cresselia at the time of making the power rankings, which did end up making a huge impact.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. So he certainly made a couple of changes that were huge. So I think had we seen this team in the power rankings, I would have said he would go from A to S certainly. If this is the team we were ranking. But yeah, it's an underdog story, as you mentioned as well, because like I said, he was not close to playoff. I mean, I guess he was almost a wild card. So in last season, but this season, just the immense turnaround of him as a player, but also the team he was able to put together this season versus last season, as you mentioned, is just it's just huge. It's a huge difference, and I give him all the credit in the world, like I said, for making that change. And it's not easy. I don't think it's easy to go from having a losing season to having a really winning season, you know, to have that quick of a turnaround, especially since season 1 and season 2 were pretty close together. So yeah, I give them all the credit in the world for that. And this is just an absolutely powerhouse squad
for sure,
top to bottom.
I think looking at his release, obviously Brandon did not start straight with uploading, but he has definitely he has started uploading his own battles midway through the season. And I have quite the record against Brandon just doing regular Wi-Fi battles as well. Like, me and him go way back to the start of Scarlet and Violet when we were doing friendlies. And he is improved a lot as a player, which I think is very cool to see. The way he makes plays now, I think especially one thing I want to give Brandon credit for is how bold he is. A little good example is I was doing mocks with him against the best not really in the semifinals, and the plays that this guy was making, like for example, if I like as an easy example, if I switched in my Regidrago and I tried to read him going Gardevoir and I make a double switch, he would read my double switch and just stay in and kill me, like whichever mon I would go into. Like little plays like that. He is very good at like calling out, and that's, I think, a super impressive skill that I would say I don't even possess. I play a lot safer than he does, and I think I love seeing his growth as a player, and I definitely do think he deserves his place in the finals here. What I do think is interesting to note as well is that both of these players have their number one favorite Pokemon of all time on their team, because I mentioned Raymond's Azumarill earlier, but obviously Brandon has his mascot Cinderace as well, which I think is a cool, interesting thing to note. And absolutely, Brandon has been phenomenal at piloting Cinderace, personally. Like the Cinderace sets he's brought to every single game, I really like. Like, it's always like, because Cinderace is a Pokemon that I personally was considering drafting, but at the same time, like, obviously I knew it was his mascot and I knew he wanted it, so I kind of just let it go. But that was it's really cool to see how he's done well with his mascot. So, and then like we both mentioned, the Terra captains for him have arguably been the carries. Like the Bisharp and the Cresselia have had like 5-0, 6-0 victories and led him to a pretty crazy differential. That was the same as Raymond, actually. The only reason why Raymond was number 1 seed and Brandon was number 2 is because Raymond had the head-to-head record on him. But I hear you wanted to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's 2 important things that we have to note before making our predictions, I think, here about this matchup. And so the first one that you kind of alluded to, and I think this is the big one, obviously, is that these coaches have played in the regular season with pretty much the same rosters, I think, that they had, that they have now. They already played, so we've already seen this match play out once, and Raymond did win that game, albeit it was not like a crushing defeat or anything like that. It was a competitive game, as I understand it. But Raymond did come away with the victory. So the other thing I want to mention is, well, I guess actually 2 things, so a total of 3. The other thing I want to mention is familiarity with the Pokemon yields victory. So, and these 2 coaches are a huge example of is that if you are familiar with Pokemon that you draft and you know the ins and outs, you know how to use them, and it's going to take you far, and these coaches are a really good example of that. For sure. So the other thing I kind of forgot, so I'll skip over it.
No worries. All right, so that's a little bit nice bit of history, nice bit of background information about both of these players. Now let's take a proper look at this matchup.
I just remembered.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just remembered what it was.
Go ahead.
When you're not a YouTuber in a league full of YouTubers, you have a big advantage. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
And these 2 coaches are also further proof of that as well. Because Raymond, I know Raymond started having his matches live on Twitch, and then they just a live stream of the matches, and then, like you said, Brandon started doing uploads around halfway through the season as well. So, but yeah, the element of surprise cannot be understated, folks. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I did remember, and I had to throw that out.
No, you're absolutely right. I think, honestly, I do also think that for us 2 specifically, you know, we are very loyal coaches to uploading. We always upload our matches. I even include a full-on like detailed team builder at the start of it. So, like, by default, coaches like us that also that upload definitely seem to have a slight disadvantage. And
disadvantage.
Disadvantage. Sorry, yeah. And one thing that that we also do that neither of these 2 play. I mean, Brandon also does it. Sorry, but one thing that, for example, Raymond doesn't do is we may be able to see his gameplay, but we don't hear his thought process. And that, honestly, like, I know that Brandon, when he like prepares for a battle against me, he literally looks back at old videos of mine just to sort of take mental notes on my thought process, like how I battle. And that's definitely a thing.
Yes, absolutely. It's that's definitely something for us, those of us who did not make it as far this season, to keep in mind for next season.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll still be, if there is a season 3, I'll definitely be uploading and doing it like usual, because I just find it fun. And if someone wants to take mental notes on how I play, then go ahead, because I can only learn from that, right? It is definitely a disadvantage in the moment, but it can help you improve further. Anyway, without further ado, let's have a look at this matchup specifically. So I guess one way we could start off with is who do we think is the MVP for each side? I'll let you do Raymond's side and I'll do Brandon's side.
Okay. So for Raymond's team, that's kind of a difficult one, but I think it's between a couple of different Pokemon. Because I think Azumarill, I think, is the only one of his Pokemon that's come to every game, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's come to the most games.
I think so,
of
yeah.
all of his Pokemon. So, but at the same time, it doesn't have that massive differential. So if you're, like I had said before, I'm a numbers guy. So, if we're playing this by the numbers, I think Baxcalibur has to be Raymond's MVP. It's got a huge differential, actually, biggest on his team by far. And it's come to almost every game, and he really is an expert at using it. So I would say his has to be the Baxcalibur.
All right. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute. I think for Brandon's side, I think his MVP in this matchup will be the Cinderace. And the reason why I say that is because this thing has an amazing speed tier against Raymond. It outspeeds his whole squad bar the Duck Trio. And the Duck Trio, unless it has a specific Terra to resist it, the Duck Trio is very frail and takes a lot from Libero boosted Sucker Punch, or even Quick Attack if he wants to go that route. So, for example, we've seen Brandon run things like Life Orb and Choice Band Cinderace, and if I could see him like running a Choice Band, like take a look at Raymond's team and tell me what switches into a Choice Band Pyro Ball. Nothing, honestly, unless maybe like a Citrus Berry Azumarill, but even then, that thing takes a lot. Yeah. But even Azumarill takes a lot, and is also at fear of dying to Gunk Shot, which it can definitely carry. So I think Cinderace is Brandon's MVP in this one for sure. But obviously we're about to see it. I'm also interested Terra-wise. Which Terra captain do you think will come on Raymond's side? And if you want to be so bold, which Terra type do you think it'll have? Because obviously BHTL has free Terra, and yeah, we've seen both of these players Terra captains put in a lot of work. So. Predictions on that front?
Yes. So I would say the Doug Trio, because my opinion about this is that Raymond is going to want to be aggressive in this game. So I think the Doug Trio is obviously a far more aggressive Pokemon than the Probopass, obviously. Mm-hmm. So I think that Doug Trio comes as his Terra Captain. As for what Terra type it's going to be, that's a difficult one, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm leaning on, to be completely honest with you, I'm leaning on potentially Ghost, actually, is what I'm leaning on, to be honest with you, just because of stuff like the Cresselia. Now, obviously, Cresselia can Terra out of that, but the Levitate immunity to, obviously the Earthquake is a problem. So I could see Terra Ghost or Terra Dark, honestly, in this game, just because of that.
I was going to say, would you mind explaining? You mentioned it just now. I was going to say, would you mind explaining why Terra Ghost over Terra Dark? Because the problem with Terra Ghost is that it lets you become. Exactly. There's two Sucker Punch users on his team.
So actually, I do have a justification for Ghost, though, and the justification for Ghost is twofold: one, Urshifu Rapid Strike, and two, Cinderace High Jump Kick.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
But not that he would go for that, but maybe he would. You don't know.
Mm-hmm. So, I've no idea what Raven's
Dark
cooking.
Also makes sense too, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So probably, either of those would work. But now that I'm thinking about it, more probably Dark would make more sense.
I think I agree. As for Brandon's side, honestly, like I think Brandon. Of any coach has gotten the most value out of his Terra captains, period. I think we've literally seen Bisharp and Cresselia both go on massive rampages this season. Multiple 5 and 6-0 sweeps, which has led to a pretty crazy differential and score for both of them.
I don't want to talk about it.
Fair. I won't then. But to be fair, I also had my ass.
No, I did. Yes, I was just gonna say I think we were both on the receiving end of that, so it's all good. This is the I got swept by a Bisharp support group right here.
Yep. No, I was fine against Bisharp. I mean, Bisharp still put in quite a lot of work against me, but it was the reason why I did that is because I clicked Stone Edge on it like a moron, and Brandon made one of those famous bold plays of not terroring, which is still a play that baffles to me to this day. But hey, it worked out, so I'll gotta give him credit where credit's due. But I kind of got my ass handed to me in the late game by Cresselia, and rest in peace, Oricorio.
Fair enough.
That's my receiving end of it. But yeah, as for which Terra, I think both of these will come. First of all, I think Raven is more likely going to bring only the Duck Trio, maybe not the Probopass. Maybe we'll see both of them. We'll see. But I think both of Brandon's Terra captains will show up to this game. But as for which one he's going to plan on terroring, I definitely do still think it is the Bisharp, because the thing is, we've seen, and what I'm basing this on is actually mainly the the earlier match that we've seen against these two coaches, because I quite vividly remember these two coaches playing, and Brandon started setting up with his Calm Mind Cresselia, and I don't exactly remember how it went, but I do know that Raymond was having absolutely none of it, and he stopped it very easily. So I think because of that, just because of how Bisharp is going to have an easier time setting up and potentially going to town in this game, I think Bisharp is the more preferred one. And then as for which Terra type, honestly, I have to say, despite Dugtrio, I gotta say Electric, because it gives him full immunity to anything Zapdos wants to do. Like, Zapdos, no matter what it runs, can't touch a Terra Electric or Violet Bisharp, ever. It gives him a Terra Blast to hit Azumarill with, and it gives him a Terra Blast to hit Corviknight with, and those are two super important targets. So I gotta say, I think Terra Electric is the more logical choice, but I could honestly see...
I like your thought process. Yep, I like your thought process with Terra Electric there. I also agree with you about the Bisharp, because one thing, I know I said this about Raymond, but I think this about Brandon as well in this game, is I think they're both going to want to be very aggressive in this game, and they're both going to want to try to end it as quickly as possible.
I don't see this game going for more than 30 turns, honestly.
No, I don't think so. I think this is, and that's kind of been the theme of the BHDL too, right? Is there have been, as you mentioned, a lot of sweeps. There have been a lot of shorter games. There have been a lot of big differentials for a select handful of coaches, and I think that we're going to see more of that. Like, these two teams essentially are like the pinnacle of the fast-paced, smash mouth, just hyper offensive play style this season that we've seen, and these two teams obviously made it the far with just going hard like that. So I feel like we're going to see more of that here. I would be surprised if either of them tried to play a defensive game. I would be very surprised by that. I think this is going to be a really offensive and a relatively quick game, to be honest with you. And it's all going to come down to positioning, I think. And it's going to come down to who can put themselves in a position that they can set up and either punch huge holes or sweep through the other one's team first.
Absolutely agree. I think even if you look at it, just ignoring the whole how BHDL handles thing, I'm looking at both of the defensive walls of each team, and I'm just thinking, like, how are they going to stop the main attackers? Like Clodsire, for example, defensively doesn't even have a very good matchup, because it's like a Shy Shock, Dugtrio destroys it, Azumarill destroys it, even if it's got Water Absorb, because it can have Ice Spinner, Baxcalibur destroys it. It only really has a good matchup into like the Salazzle and maybe to an extent the Corviknight. And then on Raymond's team we have the Corviknight, for example. Corviknight can't take Cinderace on at all. It can't take Bisharp on if it's got a proper Terra to deal with it. It can't take Urshifu on because, funnily enough, Corviknight is very easily, I'm pretty sure, to a KO by just a punching glove boosted Surging Strikes. There we go. And then the Zapdos. The Zapdos could definitely be defensive in this matchup as like a little safety net against Cinderace. But then again, I'm pretty sure this thing is still to a KO by like a Banded Pyro Ball. So even in just like this is a kill or be killed matchup for sure. And last time I think we saw Raymond just coming out on top, but it was a pretty cutthroat game, like we both mentioned. And I think it's going to be the same case here. I could see this game being over in 15 turns, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's going to be much messing around. Like I said, I think it's going to be a case of just trying to jockey for position to get in a position to set up real quick. And all it's going to take, I think, in this game is just a single turn, honestly. It's going to take a single turn for a Swords Dance somewhere or a Dragon Dance somewhere, and then we're going to be off to the races.
For sure. Which Pokemon on each side do you think has no chance of coming at all? Starting with Raymond's.
So, I'll start with Raymond's. I'm gonna say I hate to take the obvious choice, but I don't think the Dracloak shows up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But if you're gonna go with if you want a little bit of a less of a cheat answer, I would say I don't think the Probopass is gonna show up either. To be completely honest with you, despite it being one of his Terra captains, I don't think that. Like I said, I don't think either one of these coaches is going to want to play a defensive game. So, and Probopass offensively is not the best Pokemon, so I don't see that coming either.
That's fair. I do have a little bit of a point on that, because I'm looking at the way that Raymond can prepare for Urshifu Rapid Strike, right? And I'm struggling to see what else other than a Terra Water Probopass switches into the combination of Close Combat and Surging Strikes. Now that needless to say, I'm sure Raymond will be able to... Like, it's not like Raymond can't answer Urshifu Rapid Strike offensively, because he's got Azumarill, he's got the Zapdos, and he's got a Dugtrio which can have a Terra attack. Like maybe Terra Grass, or maybe he wants to go Terra Electric as well. But I think a Terra Water Probopass could definitely still show up as like a means of countering Cinderace to an extent and Urshifu Rapid Strike. But that's just my little thought on it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
As for like...
as for Brandon...
Yeah. Oh, you want to start with Brandon? Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go for it, man.
All right. As for Brandon, I'm going to be honest, I don't think the Frostmoth is showing up. That thing's been sitting on the bench forever, and it's just, I don't think it will come in this game either. The combination of Ice and Bug is not particularly strong into Raymond's team, and the fact that it can't Terra means it's going to have a very tough time setting up. So, like, for example, I tried bringing a Quiver Dancer into Raymond's team, and like Oricorio was a massive MVP in that game, but not because it had a Quiver Down sweep. So it's super difficult to find that setup opportunity with that kind of Pokemon against him. So I don't think that's showing up. And I mean, let's be honest, the Pikachu's not showing up either. Like,
what are you talking about, man? I think, you know what? How dare you? I think
okay, elaborate.
Pikachu is going to make its debut. I think it's going to make its debut in the finals. I think Light Ball Pikachu is going to make its debut in the finals here. He's going to fake out Raymond into Oblivion, and he's going to continue. He's going to fake out Volt Switch himself into Oblivion here. That's what's going to happen. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't. I again, hate to take the easy way out, but I agree with you completely. I don't think the Frostmoth is showing up. He's brought it to one game all. And as you mentioned, it doesn't seem to have a good matchup against Raymond either. Obviously, the Pikachu he drafted as a meme because he could. So I don't.
The mascot that's been cheering from the side, in his own words.
Exactly. So.
Yep. As for like the rest of the Pokemon, honestly, I could see the rest of them all showing up. The front 7 for Raymond could all be showing up. As for Brandon,
sure.
Outside of Frostmoth and Pikachu, I could see every other Pokemon having value. He's been, interestingly enough, Brandon has been using his Gardevoir a lot more in the playoffs. Like, this Pokemon has not been seeing much time in the limelight during the regular season, but it's really come to show its colors in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure it came to both the quarterfinals and the semifinals game, although I could be wrong. But I definitely know it played quite a good role in his victory against the best in the semifinals. So maybe we'll see that thing showing up. Yeah. Who knows? I could see a Scarf. I could see some potential with a Scarf set there, or even Specs if he wants to go that route. Gardevoir speed tier is not horrible into Raymond, so I could see it.
I could certainly see the Scarf, to be honest with you, to maybe try to catch the Excalibur off guard and
Yep.
get rid of it, you know what I mean? So I could certainly see that.
Right, I think we just about covered everything, so let's try to move on to our final verdict. I'll let you start. Who do you think is going home with the title of Pokémon Viola?
All right, so first of all, I would like to say it's Viola, not Viola. No, I'm just
Viola. All right.
No, it's fine. Viola, Viola, it's all good. It's all just one big joke anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But a damn good joke, if I do say so myself.
Can't say I disagree.
Down to brass tacks. Down to brass tacks. I think the odds-on favorite for this game has to be Raymond, and I will tell you why. Obviously, Raymond is the reigning champion right now from Season 1. Obviously, when these two faced off against each other earlier this season with the same teams, Raymond also won that encounter. And aside from all that stuff, we have seen that Raymond just finds a way to win. Needs to win. Like that's what he does. Like I said, it always feels like he's got the momentum going his way. It always feels like he has a plan. So I think Raymond is certainly the odds-on favorite to win this, and for those reasons, I'm gonna have to pick Raymond to win this game. I don't think it's impossible for Brandon to win. I think it is possible for him to win, but if he wants to win, he's going to have to be more aggressive than Raymond, I think, if he wants to win this game. And he's not only that, but he's going to have to bring the exact right sets to counter what Raymond brings, which is way easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do, as I had mentioned before, I have a lot of respect for what Brandon was able to do, going from a losing season to a winning season in a very short period of time. I think he did a great job this season, both in his team building and his prep and his actual performances in game. As you mentioned, I agree with that. He definitely deserves to be in the finals, thanks to all of those things. However, I don't see him winning this game. Like I said, I think it's possible, but in order for him to win, he's going to have to do what Raymond does, but do it better than him, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah. All respect against him, right?
Yeah, all due respect, absolutely. I think that Raymond is just, like I said, I may sound like a broken record here, but I think Raymond is definitely one of the toughest competitive battlers that I've seen in Scarlet and Violet in Generation 9 period. Of all the opponents that I've faced and watched, I think Raymond is one of the best. I mean, I remember just learning about who Raymond was by watching him bust Jack's ass on his channel so many times, and I'm like, and I played him a couple times myself, and I'm like, this guy is just really, really good at this game. There's just no two ways about it. So I think, while I think Brandon has become very good at this game, and like I said, he's had a great rise between where he was and where he is, I think Raymond is still top dog. So I gotta give it to him.
It's fair. Alright, as for my thoughts on this, I really do think if either of these two players win it, they deserve it. If whoever wins this one, a good friend of mine will have the win, so I'm very happy for whoever wins it in that case regardless as well. But both matchup-wise and just sheer experience-wise, I am also giving a slight edge to Raymond. And I do think that a big part of that is just, like you said, he just finds a way he wants to win, and either whether or not he executes it flawlessly or not, he does find a way to make it work. And a final interesting thing to note I mentioned is I remember complimenting Raymond on his battle against Brandon specifically, because I could just see through the sheer replay of that battle that Raymond had an exact way he wanted to play, and he like in that battle specifically, he executed it perfectly. He answered the Bisharp flawlessly, the Cresselia flawlessly, he just stopped them in their tracks, and Brandon was not able to get it going, and that's definitely, I think, what net him the win in that one. So just like you, I'm going to have a lot of trouble betting against the reigning champion of Season 1, and I'm also going to say I do think Raymond will win this one. That's my prediction. But again, we know Pokemon, we know there's a lot that can happen. So many shocking results have happened in BHTL Season 2. I wouldn't even know where to start in order to name them all. So many upsets.
We definitely don't have enough time to go through all that.
Yeah, no, we're not going to. But the amount of shocking match results that we've had this season, like, oh, this person beat that person. Oh wow, this person did that against that person. We're like, our minds were constantly being blown while the season was progressing. Obviously, we've had our lovely recaps by Emerald Miner on this channel, which highlighted some of those beautifully. More on those coming soon, by the way. I think in this case specifically, I'm all down to be surprised. But we're here to rank it objectively, and I do think I'm going to give a slight edge to Raymond as well. So yep, that's our bets on who we think will come home or will go home with the prize of Pokémon Viola. So that's going to be...
I will also say...
Go ahead.
I will also just add one thing, and that is this will decide something that is just as, if not more important than the actual finals itself, and that's if B-Nard can predict all 7 playoff games correctly.
Had to throw it in there, didn't you? Well, on that topic, it is quite funny because last season I got 6 out of 7 correct. I predicted all of the matches of the playoffs, but I just got the finals wrong. But yeah, we'll see if you go in my footsteps or if you can one-up me in that regard.
Yes, we'll see. I'm looking forward to finding out. Either way, like I said, I think it's going to be a good match. I think it's going to be an offensive match. It's going to be probably a relatively quick match, and we're gonna see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. For sure.
You got any closing thoughts about the season as a whole? Like not just for your own team, but just like for BHTL Season 2?
Well, I'm not going to put a sour note on this because obviously my season sucked, so we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's fair. If you want to go hear Captain's thoughts on his own season, please go check him out. I'll put a link to his channel in the description down below. You can watch his seasonal recap.
Yes, if you want to hear me bitch for a half hour, please go check that.
Just plugging your channel here, man.
Yes, no, it's more than that. But I'd say if I had to sum up this whole season, BHDL 2, in one word, that word would be upset. Right, so like we've seen, and I think I talked about this earlier in the season. It feels like pretty much every game result was the opposite of what it was in season 1. And going by that logic, perhaps it would be quite fitting if Brandon actually did defeat.
Yeah, for sure. That would be a certified BHDL moment. That's for sure.
Absolutely, because let's face it, Raymond, although he has lost games last season and this season, he has not been eliminated from the tournament. So it's like, what would be a bigger upset than finally eliminating the champion, finally ripping that title away from him? Yep. And like I said, I think Brandon is capable of doing that. Good old BP.
Absolutely.
But yes, but it's going to be a very tall task for him, I think. But anything can happen, right? So we're gonna see what happens.
Yep, anything can happen here in BHDL. Now, of course, this is our final match of Battle Hub Draft League Season 2. Really hope all of you guys enjoyed the content and the passion we've put into this obviously passionate project. It is, BHDL is a place where we just host a very fun, passionate, and most importantly, competitive draft league organized by friends. And we really hope all of you guys enjoyed it. And there will, I can say this right now, we're not sure when this is going to be happening. It'll probably definitely be a break in between, because obviously we don't want people to get burned out. But there definitely will be a Battle Hub Draft League Season 3, so look forward to that. With that being said, all of that, we're going to end it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching this and watching all of our other content throughout the season. Again, there are still a couple of weekly recaps coming up, so it's a good time for us to look back at this phenomenal season and cherish the memories that have been made. But again, we want to thank you all for supporting us throughout this, watching these videos, and making this incredible experience possible. Final big thank you to Captain B-Nard for joining me on this. And
got it.
Yep, we're going to round it off there. Look forward to BHDL Season 3, looking forward to the result of the finals, and we'll see you all next time. Peace out and take care.